feel pressure.
overarching.
Put more pressure on me because right now I don't feel no pressure. You know what I mean? People say I've got the weight of the nation.
Systems
on my
within.
shoulders.
This might sound crazy, but we are finally about to hit our goal of a 500-pound squat as a minus 73 kg athlete in 1 week. This is a link from the future, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have high ambitions, but it has to be measured. And there's one concept that is going to get me there. See, now obviously being able to squat 500 pounds is not something that happens overnight. And there are definitely a ton of different factors that go into it. But there's one overarching factor that's going to put us all the way over. So what I'm about to say in this video actually does make sense and work, but it requires a little bit of context. So I'll let you keep going, we'll see. The central nervous system is, when it comes to heavy lifting, one of the most important systems within your body that's actually going to help you to move the weight. So obviously you need to have the musculature to be able to support the weight, but without your central nervous system being primed, you're not going to be able to move the load in the way that you want to. So with that being said, we do have the strength to be able to squat 500, and the final piece of the puzzle is that we need to prime our central nervous system so we can get ready to move some real weight. So let's get started. So in the beginning of this video, you saw me work low bar for speed squats and box jump. The goal of all that was explosiveness so that we can really work on getting the muscles to fire. And now we're moving on to high bar so that we can bias the quads. We're working on eccentrics now, which is going to be time under tension, which is another huge factor, because the more time that we spend under the weight is the more our body will be able to withstand even greater loads. So we got 10-second eccentrics. We're working up to top 3 singles. Okay, so I just checked the program and I realized that I actually misread. So we are only doing the eccentrics today. We are not doing the concentric portion of the high bar squat. So I'm putting the safety bars back on. We can load this thing up and really get some time under tension here. Safety bars are too low. Okay, so I made the changes that I figured I needed to. We're going down in plate size for the plate that we're standing on. And also I raised the safety bar. Last thing I need to do is stay a little bit more upright. I realized that I was getting into more of a low bar position. As I got to the bottom of that rep, I need to make sure I'm driving my knees forward and that we are keeping the high bar position as best as possible. So let's keep running. Let's go. We got a proper high bar 385 for our 10-second eccentric. That was rough. I was trying my best too, because I had to really fight to be able to stay as upright as I could. And towards the bottom, I definitely felt like I was starting to hinge a little bit more at the hips, which means that, you know, like biasing away from the quads in a sense, but it's all good. We will correct. We were good with time under tension. I don't know that I have done a 10-second eccentric with that much weight before for high bar. So very happy with how that felt. And again, it's really all about this exposure to the most difficult progressions that we possibly can. That's going to make this whole training a whole lot easier, because one thing I can tell you, after we were done with the explosive work, the warm-ups for high bars today felt like nothing. So we are definitely headed on the right track. So as I started my weight cut for this competition, I made a couple changes to my diet. I decided that I wanted to cut out carbs from my dinner. I had a slight theory that I wanted to test out with regards to macros. I know that carbs, protein, and fats all sort of have a different way in which the body reacts to them. And so because proteins and fats metabolize different from that of carbs, I figure if I go heavy on the protein, heavy on the fat, it could potentially help me to cut some of the fat that I'm looking to as I'm in this weight cut. And so far what I've realized is that I definitely feel a lot less bloated at night after eating my dinner. I definitely am full, but I don't feel overly lethargic like you would after consuming a ton of carbs. So I'm going to continue this for a while and really see what the benefits might be. Right now, my dinner during the week generally consists of that salad that you saw me put together. So we throw in a ton of greens to really fill it out and give some volume to the food, and then a full avocado and 2 chicken legs that go on top of that. And so this gives me a good deal of protein, good deal of fat, and then again using the greens to just fill it out, give a little bit of flavor. If you want to add mustard, 0 calories, and you get some good flavor from that as well. So I'm going to finish this up because I got some editing to get done. Here we go, day 2 of squats. We are ready to get things started. So this is when things started to really go downhill in the plan that I had. So got a terrible night of sleep. The camera was not focusing. I was just not able to lock in, but I was super determined to push through. Stiff sleeves we're trying out for the first time today. These are the A7 rigor mortis sleeves. So this session was the first time that I was squatting with full stiff sleeves, and up till this point I'd only used normal, your normal stiff sleeve, and I've had pretty good results with them. But from my perspective, especially because in using the half stiff elbow sleeves that I got from MPDS the other day, I figured that I would feel the exact same difference that I did. And so essentially in my head, being absolutely delusional, I figured, oh, it'll just give me superpowers and I can pretty much lift whatever I want today. And that was a massive rookie mistake. These are pretty clean. We're trying them out today, and I think we're going to like the results. So hey, let's get started. So we have wave loading again today. We are starting with top triple. We're looking to knock down 430 for our triple. Hopefully this moves as fast as I'm hoping it to. Today has just been, warm-ups, everything. I'm just really trying to lock in. I think I'm still riding off the high of that 475 I squatted from 2 weeks ago, thinking that for some reason I was able to really just go into the gym and do the same thing again just because now I had stiffer sleeves that I was wearing. And while this sort of makes sense in a sense, we have to really take into account the fact that the body may not be fully recovered. And that is most likely what I was going through within this session, especially being on the sleep deficit first thing in the morning. We're just not able to really concentrate and lock in. The conditions were absolutely suboptimal. And the big mistake that I made here was to not allow the more mature lifter within me really take over and dictate the training session. Because in my head, I wanted to chase numbers. I wanted to get the cool clip for Instagram. And so that meant that we were going to be able to push today. And regardless, we were going to just figure it out and get it done so that we could hit a PR and do some crazy stuff. And while this is all good and well, I have to, again, take into context the fact that training numbers, and this is something that I want to emphasize to everyone as well, especially those who may be lesser experienced lifters, your numbers in training really do not matter, because if you can't put it down on the platform, then it doesn't count for anything like that. I have to put my own advice into practice in the sense that I don't need to be chasing numbers while I am in training. So for the next 8+ weeks, or however many weeks that we have left before we step onto the platform, it's cool to gain the confidence and to know that I can already hit the weight. But realistically, just understanding the trend that my body has been on and the way that I've been progressing, every single lift that I want is going to be there as long as I don't mess it up. And this is one of those sessions where I really had an opportunity to mess it up. It's been kind of difficult, but I think we're pushing through. So I'm going to make this happen. Stiff sleeves so far feel definitely good. It's a little bit of a tricky thing to work on the balance, but I think in terms of depth and everything, there's no real issue there. So definitely happy with that. I think these are going to be pretty good, especially once I get used to them. Let's see if we can push today. I hit the 430 for a double already and it was fast. I know that we can hit a 430 for a triple today with 1 to 2 reps in reserve. That's our goal, and so let's make it happen. Not gonna lie, that 430 for 3 moved very nicely. That was a PR. I could definitely feel towards the end of the lift that I was starting to move in towards the mentality of if I really needed to, I could get however many more reps. And so that is another fatal mistake that we can make when it comes to judging the actual effort level. So I was assigned an RPE 8 to 9, and so I figured, all right, we want to stick around RPE 8 in a sense. I want to have 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And I started really to tell myself if I really had to grind it out, I would have another rep in reserve. But realistically, especially where we are right now in training, that's not the way that I should be thinking about things. We want to make sure that I am maximizing my recovery such that I can get back in the gym the following week and I can move heavier weight because I didn't beat up my lower back and now it's going to take me a whole week to recover again. I should have taken true note of that after I hit this 430 for 3, that we can keep moving up and the weight should move, but we're digging ourselves into a hole where we shouldn't be. I did not have another rep after that. I knew I was overshooting and I was literally just in self-denial. All right, I'm gonna watch that back because that felt entirely off balance. On the way up, I felt unbalanced on one side. A little disappointed in that rep. You don't say. There was no way that 475 right there was an 8 to 9. I did not have anything left in the tank. That's the slowest 475 that I've ever hit. As a matter of fact, it's the second 475 that I've ever hit, so I don't have a lot of data to really go off. But regardless, I didn't need to make such a large jump from 455 to 475. I could have taken it easy, but for some reason in my head, I was like, okay, we're gonna walk into the gym today, and because we have stiff sleeves, we're just gonna go hit a 485 squat. And that sounded all good and well until we stepped in, and then my body just was not responding in the way that I wanted it to. And so at the end of the day, 100%, if everything was feeling good, we could have hit every single number that I wanted to that day. But I refused to listen to my body at that point in time, and I was still in denial and I was still pushing. And every single time you do something like that, you are really in big risk of injury. So for context on the reason why we dropped down in weight, for wave loading, we have a set of 3, 2, 1, and then 1, 1, 1. And so for the very 4th set out of the 6 that we have for wave loading, we drop weight to somewhere in between the first and the second set. So I dropped down to 440, and the expectation there is that the 440 or that 4th set is supposed to feel even easier than the very first set did. And so therein lied the problem, where you saw how slow that 440 was. And if we compare that to the 430 for 3 that I hit before it, they were entirely different in the level of speed that I was able to hit those reps. So that is something that really told me that I was going 100% down the wrong route and my weight selection was completely off. So I decided to call the squats from there. 2 sets that I had remaining, decided to scrap it because I realized that I was really in the position of pushing for an injury if I continued on. So I'm definitely grateful that I had the common sense to know it's like, hey, we need to cut it. But it was a little bit still too late, because I can tell you my low back was already getting sore and I knew that I was going to have to take some time to recover after that. But anyways, let's finish up this workout. We took an L on the day in the fact that the very last clip of that training session, the camera would not even focus. That was just a rough day altogether. But just to kind of recap and go back over what happened. So my goal was to explain to you all how I was planning to be able to squat 500 pounds the following week. That claim in itself was entirely possible. The strategies that I showed here are completely sound because these are the strategies that I used already to be able to go from a 440 squat last year to 475 right now. And so really the time under tension, the heavy eccentrics, the biasing of the quads, because I already have a very strong posterior chain, all those pieces put together are going to result in me having as strong of a squat as I want. And one thing that I can tell you is that on meet day in a couple weeks when we step onto the platform, 500 is going to be there and I'm going to blow through that. That's going to be no problem at all. One of the things too is that we still have to remember to lift intuitively, in the sense that not every session that we step into the gym is going to feel the same. And some days your body's not up for it. You know, you may have had a stressful day at work the day before. You may have just not recovered very well because your sleep quality was was poor. And so as a result, we just have to make adjustments on the fly and recognize just because we don't hit the exact number that we want in this week, it does not mean that we are going to miss out on the progress that we want. And so the fatal mistake that I really made here was, again, just not listening to my body and deciding to risk it really just for Instagram clout at the end of the day. And so take this as a lesson. Honestly, I got away really fortunate because I didn't sustain any injuries from pushing past the point that I should have when my body was just not able to support what I needed on the day. And so yeah, we were able to move 475. Yeah, we were able to move 440. And maybe I can give myself a slight pat on the back in the sense that 2 weeks after hitting that weight, we were able to go back into the gym and hit it again, albeit those weights were slow, but it really shows me that, hey, we were working within 90% to 100% of my max currently, and we were able to move that weight. So that's great and all, but now I've just extended the period of time in which I have to be able to rest, to recover and go back next week, which is going to be our full intensity week, and really hit those numbers and maybe even more. And so now what I may have done is slightly delayed some of that progress that I was supposed to make, or some of the numbers that I could have hit next week as a result of the foolish decisions that I made here. I guess I didn't formally drop any advice or any wisdom, but I think the number one thing to keep in mind here is to really trust the process, because at the end of the day, I think it's very easy to get anxiety and anticipation, wondering what will be. But honestly, at the end of the day, if the process is right, then that product is going to be guaranteed. So if you're willing to actually see the process through and do the boring work, the things that are not flashy, you're going to be able to achieve great things, and it all comes in time. At the end of the day, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Everyone sees those glamour shots and everyone sees the highlights, but no one sees the work that actually goes on behind the scenes. So at the end of the day, we're still going to hit the 500 squat. I can't tell you that it's going to happen next week. We definitely have a big session plan. We'll see what I end up hitting. It depends on how much the body has recovered. I'm going to do my best to really try and bounce back by the time we have our next heavy squat session. But best believe we're going to push, and I'm going to continue grinding, continue sharing my journey with you all as we go on to become the 2-time USA Streetlifting champion. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share it with a friend, and I will see you in the next one.